Good morning. You are listening to WCBU 89.9 FM. I'm your host, Yolanda Wallace, and today is a new year on the Gregorian calendar, and we are having a special guest in our studio, and it is Sheriff Watkins. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Okay, yes, great. I'm glad that you accepted the invitation to come on our show, and I appreciate all your efforts and support for Mother's War on Violence. And just real quick, just wanting to talk about the playing cards for unsolved murders that you purchased with the Peoria County Jail, and what your take was on all that.
Yeah, well, first, thank you. I know that was not an easy task. I think you worked on it for well over a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a lot of conversations, and so we are still slowly putting that in our population.
Mm-hmm.
Our jail command staff, they wanted to very ease this into the population. They had a couple concerns, but so far we haven't seen any backlash. One of the concerns was putting these out. Peoria is a big but small community, right?
Yes.
So everyone knows everyone, especially it seems like in jail. I mean, there's a lot of relations. So we were worried that some of these individuals would say something that would make someone else mad in their pod, and then we would have a fight. So we really wanted to test the waters, and so far we haven't seen anything negative. So that's a good thing. So now we're going to keep pushing that through. Do we know how successful that is putting them? It's hard because they don't, when they do give a tip through the city's tip line, through Crime Stoppers, through our app, they usually don't say, hey, I did this because I saw the playing card, right?
Right.
So it's going to be hard to quantify the impact besides hopefully seeing some crimes get solved.
Right.
Because like you've said before, when these murders are unsolved, that means someone's out there that killed somebody who's not been arrested for it, right? And unfortunately, some of these people kill over and over because they got away with it the first time. I mean, some of these, they're not good people, right? So it's a very important to solve some of these unsolved crimes. And unfortunately, there's quite a few. But I tell you what, Peoria PD lately, they've been doing a really good job on getting them solved.
They really have. I have sent several shout-outs to the Peoria Police Department. And just wondering, how does the county work different from the police department? But I know sometimes you guys work together.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a great relationship. I talk to their chief, their assistant chief weekly, almost daily. So it's nice to have that relationship, yeah. Okay. So the difference is, Peoria County as a whole, we have a lot of communities in Peoria County. The city limits is Peoria PD. So technically, yes, we can go in the city limits. We can do whatever we need to do. We kind of give them that courtesy, though, that we let them handle their business.
Right.
We just support them in a support role in the city. But there's a lot to Peoria County outside the city, too. We have all these communities between Chillicothe, Glassford, Elmwood. I mean, Peoria County is a big county. So we patrol everything outside that, unless like a certain community like Bartonville and Chillicothe have their own police department.
Right.
We go back into a support role for them. But we also have a lot of community contracts that they want our police services, like Princeville, Hannah City, West Peoria. So we're all over the place. So it's kind of the difference.
Yeah, it is. But when it comes to crime and stuff like that, sometimes you guys work together with the city, and the city works with the county. And
yeah, I mean, criminals don't know the county between the city lines, right? So I mean, sometimes they do a crime in the city, they'll do a crime out in the county. Okay. So we're constantly working together, and that's where you've seen some. Not saying that would ever happen in Peoria, but sometimes you see, like Louisville now has just a metropolitan police where it's just one police department through the whole county, right?
Right.
Because the crimes are so similar. I think that was explored a long time ago, and there's a lot of logistics with that, different unions, different pensions, and all like that. So we're not even talking about that these days. I think Peoria PD is doing a great job, and I hope we're doing a great job out there too.
You guys are doing a great job as well. Yeah. I've even seen that on the county side that you have resolved some murders on that side as well. So.
Yeah, we've seen more murders in the last couple of years than I've seen in my whole career at the county.
I've noticed that. Yeah. What do you think is the?
Well, most of the time our murders are a little bit different. Like the one we had at Laramie Liquors, though, that's the type of murder that you see in the city a lot of times, right? It's it's an argument that spawns into something, right? So. But most of ours that we've seen, unfortunately, is a lot of domestic-related murders. We had, and I think all but that one that I'm remembering right now, I think we've had 6 of them in the last couple of years have all been domestic. Wow. And that's a big deal too, right? So I mean, there's a lot of different types of violence out there, but domestic is at least 30% of our bookings in the jail, unfortunately, is domestic related.
And it could end into a fatality, which would be a murder. So, Mothers War on Violence, one of our goals is to try to tear down strongholds in our families to prevent violence, to stop the violence, and sometimes when you're dealing with domestic stuff, if we can just, heighten the awareness that if things aren't going to work out before they end up in a fatality, then let's make another change. Let's separate. Let's depart.
It's emotions, right? It's somebody that you care about. At least at some time you cared about. Most time it's at that moment, and then the emotions gets high, and then sometimes if you don't have that type of anger or anything to really control it. If you grew up in a very violent household, that's the only way you know how to express it. And unfortunately, it turns into some bad things happen.
Right. That's so true. Now, I want to switch gears and talk about the new laws that have gone into effect. And one of them started last year with the no bond.
Yeah, the no cash bail started September 18th. So it's only been 3.5 months. So far, there's a lot of different branches that deal with no cash bail. You have the courts, judges, you have state's attorneys, you got public defenders, you got pretrial, and then there's the police part of it. So there's a lot of different moving parts. It's still fairly new. I have seen our population. I was just talking to the media yesterday about this. Our population has decreased quite a bit since no cash bail. Is that a good or bad thing? It's It's partially good for me because it helps my staffing levels a little bit. But also, I want to make sure we're keeping, as a public safety official, I want to make sure we're keeping the bad people in jail to keep our violence down in our community too. So finding that balance is very interesting, and I think everyone's trying to find that balance right now. So it's almost too soon to say how it's affecting us. Is crime going up? We don't know. I mean, we did see a little bit of uptick in crime, I think, towards the end of the year. So 2024 will kind of give us a little bit more on how this is going. It's an experiment, honestly.
And also working with the Peoria Police Department with their new website that Mary Peterson has been working on with all the information and stuff like that, and the statistics should really help a lot.
Data. I mean, data's data, though, right? Like you still have to have actions over words. So, but you have to have that data to see where your hot spots are, to see how it's trending. Property crime's a big deal too. That's been increasing in Peoria, which leads to sometimes violent crime, stolen cars. So we're busy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I see that. Sometimes I don't know if it is a crime, but sometimes there are some headstones in the cemeteries and stuff like that are vandalized as well. Are those the county thing, or is that a city thing?
We haven't seen that a whole lot. We have some, obviously we have cemeteries in the county. I think in West Peoria we might have had a few of those a few years back where sometimes it's kids just being kids, not being respectful, I haven't seen that yet recently, but it could be happening in the city. I just haven't seen that part of it.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. So, and with them doing the no bail thing, are you, when you do take somebody into custody, is it mostly those who have the worst case scenarios of charges? I mean,
So on the street, we haven't, because of some amendments and some changes from the initial no cash bail, we have a lot more discretion on the street now. So it's not affecting us a ton on who we can't get to take to the jail. So that hasn't impacted us a lot. The process goes, so say a police officer arrests somebody. So most likely they're going to be able to be taken to jail unless it's a very low minor offense.
Right.
So when they get to jail, what happens is it used to be where they would, if it was a misdemeanor, they could immediately bond out. Now, no matter what, if it's Class A misdemeanor or a felony, they have to sit in jail until a state's attorney decides what they want to do with them. So that's so we're the first level. We're the ones that dealing with somebody on the street, take them to jail. Next day, usually the state's attorney reviews that arrest and sees what they want to do with them. Do they want to just give them a notice to appear, give them a court date, or do they want to file a petition to detain them? So if they want to file the petition to detain them, then they go in front of a judge. So that's your third step.
Okay.
So then a judge reviews why the state's attorney wants to detain them in this new legislation. That judge has to see if it fits, and if it does, they will now detain them with no bond. So now they are in jail until their next appeal, next court date happens. Or they could put them on pretrial release, which is releasing them from jail with a GPS monitor or a lot of restrictions, report to probation or something like that during their process. So there's a lot of moving parts. And what we've seen is judges, like just before no cash bail, judges are different. They're human beings. They're different. They read law different sometimes. So talking to other sheriffs, we're just seeing, depends on the judge, on if some judges detain people a little bit more, other ones release them a little bit more on pretrial. Right. So it's different by every county, honestly. So
at least I still see the police still arresting people in spite of the the no bond thing, and they're still going through the process. So they're still not getting away with a crime. It's just a different way of the way they're dealing with it, right?
Yeah, it was back in 2020 when the civil unrest happened and police thought they were not supported because of a lot of loud voices saying that they were not supported in defunding. Police kind of took a hands-off approach, and we saw what happened. Crime just
skyrocketed.
Yes. So we're over that now for the most part. We feel we do have support. The majority of the support. We have good police leaders, I think, in the area to where, hey, if that person that we arrested that had a pistol on them yesterday gets out on the street and they do it again, we're going to arrest them again. I'm confident Peoria PD's like that. I'm confident we're like that, and most police departments out there are like that. We're not giving up.
Okay.
I mean, we are not. What happens at the back end is really we don't have a whole lot of control over that, right? And that's where I'm vocal, but also I'm respectful. I just put the data out there. Listen, these individuals were released the next day. I don't know why. This is the reason why. I mean, it is what it is. You do with that what you want with that information. I'm not going to finger point or anything like that.
Right.
But we're just going to continue doing what we're doing.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's great and good to hear. And it's good information for our listening audience and for me to know where the county is and how the city and how they work together, and how our police are back on top of things again. And to be quite honest, they still need people like community people like me, I hope, where they still, we're still building trust and fostering new relationships and trying to help our community. I sometimes think think of the past. You don't see very many community people involved like me with feet on the ground, and there needs to be more. I mean, what's your...
Yeah, it needs to be more consistent, right? We have a lot of resources in Peoria.
We do.
And we keep hearing the word silos, right? People are kind of in their own silos, and how we're going to try to... I think people are trying.
Together,
I think community leaders are trying to get that. It's every town, city that's our size is going through this, right?
Really?
It is
Yeah.
no easy answer on how to fix this. And some people want to help, but sometimes it fizzles out too, right? Especially if that's not your full-time job. And
Yeah.
you're not fizzling out. You've been doing this for a long, long time, and I know it's exhausting, right?
Yeah, and I have a full-time job as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
That's
so
why I said I'm kind of like the thing of the past. I'm a volunteering fool right now.
and we need more of that, right? We need more.
Yes.
Me and my chief deputy, we teach situational awareness, and one of the main things we teach is we need more helpers out there. We need more people that are.
Cool.
There's a lot of helpers that are capable of helping, but are they helping, right?
Right.
We just need more of that.
Yeah. Well, there's, in the future, we should do a workshop together to heighten that awareness, because I think collaboration is also key with different organizations and things that they're doing to try and get them involved. Sometimes the organizations that you see around are the same organizations that only work with the same people, and they don't try different people. And I've heard, coming from the city and the mayor's, platforms, that they've talked about collaboration and, meeting different people and different organizations. So, and that's cool. And then I was just wanting to see what all these different changes that you have going on with working with police. There's a change in technology. I know we talked about it with the and listening what the city had to do when they first tried to implement that some years ago, and now we have a new mayor and we are still implementing more, and it seems like now we're starting to actually see what that taxpayers' dollars went towards this new technology. And can you speak on that?
Yeah, so, and that's one reason why a lot more murders are being solved these days is because of technology, right?
That's awesome.
Everybody's got a phone on them. We have these license plate readers, which is all over the city and the county, which has been a huge, we personally have solved out in the county several murders because of the license plate readers.
That's
so
a blessing.
I know people initially like, oh, great, big, big government's watching us,
Right.
But that's not what we're using that for.
Right.
No, it's almost putting a perimeter around our county and city, because people 90% of the time use a vehicle to commit a crime, right?
Right,
so,
right.
It doesn't solve the crime for us, but it definitely is a huge tool for us.
Yes.
So we are a huge proponent of that. The Shot Spotter has been around for a long time in the city.
It's been doing great.
It's in the Chicago, they're getting some feedback up there. It's not really solving crimes, but honestly, it's saving victims.
Right.
A lot of those Shot Spotter alerts, people don't call in on those. It shows there's 15 rounds in this 100 block.
And nobody calls.
No one calls. But then an officer shows up and sees a victim in the backyard. So it's saving lives. It is. It's almost a tool you have to have these days. And I think license plate readers is another tool. With Ring doorbells and everybody having cameras on their house, it's huge.
Yes, it is.
15 years ago, we did not have that.
Right.
You're lucky to have a business, or maybe one house on the block might have a camera. Now you have Ring doorbells, you have cameras on every corner. We need more cameras out there.
Right. At the stoplights.
Everywhere. I'm telling you. We're way behind the curve in the United States compared to Europe. When I lived in England for 2 years, there was a camera on every corner of any urban area over there, and that was something that's been since the 80s.
That's big, right, in today's time, because when you're trying to take somebody to court, and then some people have found a loophole in the system and try to get out of that, or they've been appealed or whatever, having the technology kind of keeps it on the straight and narrow, because these are the facts. This is what we saw. This is what happened.
Right.
So that people can't quickly overturn these murders, which in turn causes more violence in the community.
Yeah, witnesses are great, right? We need witnesses, and you've seen that from time to time. Please speak up. Please give us your information. And we still need that, and we'll always need witnesses. But you see that sometimes in court cases, that's where the case kind of falls apart from maybe the witness, but we want good witnesses. We want any information. Even a little bit of information on something, we can spiral that into a big part of the case, right? You just sometimes, the training that we do give, I used to give bank robbery training to where, if you don't set yourself, that clerk, if they get robbed, if you can just let us know without putting yourself in danger, if that car took a left or right out of the parking lot, you know what I'm saying? Just
Right.
that little bit of piece of information
Yeah.
can really help police out, even though you might not think it's important. It does help. So
It
yeah,
does.
witnesses are great. Yeah, and cameras kind of help support that evidence too,
And
right?
that's awesome, because when in certain communities, my community, African American community, there this no snitch code type thing that people are doing and saying, and it's like, it's going to cause them more harm in the long haul than anything, because if something happens to them, then they want somebody to speak up for them as well. So yeah.
Well, and you're treading water there, because these individuals, they grow up with their parents telling them, you better
That's
not
right.
tell on anybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is ingrained in their culture from being 2 years old. So how do you get that out of them? It's tough. It's tough.
And sometimes they've even been told that in school.
Yeah.
You're tattletelling too much.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it's the no snitching thing. Why are you snitching on them all the time? And then from that point, and then it goes from home and it goes into their adulthood, and then
It's in the culture, right? And
it's in the culture.
how do you?
Unfortunately.
I don't know the answer how you break that. I don't know. Besides being there for them and having good role models in school,
Right. Right.
I mean,
And speak to the bullying thing. What's your take on that?
yeah, I mean, we just had an incident last night where somebody was being bullied, and a kid threatened to shoot another kid. It's just
Right.
and then they put it on social media, so it's there forever, right? And we try to tell these kids that come on and do the tours of the jail, it's like,
Right.
you have to understand, when you apply for a job, the first thing we look at is your social media, and if you're on there bullying or talking crap to people, that's a red flag for us, right? So.
Right.
You really have to, if it feels good, don't say it. That's right. I try to tell them, don't
Right.
say it. You can type it, but don't hit that enter button, because it's
Right.
out there forever. And sometimes we use that to charge a kid because of what they said, right? I mean, so it can even lead to criminal charges, being a bully.
Right. So that means you monitor all the Facebook pages within the city limits and
Everywhere.
county and everywhere.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Because I know we have the Who Killed Me page, and
Yeah, yes.
sometimes there's some
And-
strange things that pop up on there.
These kids are Snapchatting them with pistols, and I mean, we can arrest them for that.
Yeah.
Use that to build the case. So I mean, but they think it's cool at the time, and they don't care about. They know that we're watching that. They don't care. It's
They
the
don't?
street cred that they get for doing that,
Oh,
and that's
right,
unfortunate, right?
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. But I'm glad that it's kind of good to know, and kind of not that that the police and the government is kind of watching the stuff that people put on social media to keep people safe.
Yeah, most time it's
Not-
people bring towards us, right? See something, say something. Somebody's like, "Hey,
That's right.
I'm sharing this post with you," and then sometimes we follow up on those things.
Right,
you
and
know?
that's good, because sometimes it could prevent a fatality
Yes.
or
Yep.
whatever, or even bigger crimes. So, but anyway, I thank you so much, Sheriff Watkins, for coming into our studio today, and just, do you have any comments about Mothers of War on Violence, of why you think it's a good organization or anything like that?
I thank you for what you do. Me and you have talked numerous
Yes.
times since I've been sheriff, and I love your relentless. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it. We need more of you out there. Keep doing what you're doing,
Thanks.
because having those different type of, not silos, but pillars in the community. It's not just law enforcement. We need,
Right.
we need 10 Yolandas.
Community
Yes,
people. That's
yes,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Now we have organizations who come to meetings and stuff, but we don't have community people who have boots on the ground, who aren't getting paid for it, who just do it just out of the compassion of wanting to build a stronger village. Because
Right.
our village is broken down. So we need to have ways to repair it, have ways to, help each other.
Yeah, I mean, we have good people out there that want to do it.
Yep,
And we're lucky to have that. Peoria is a special place. I don't care what everybody says.
And there's
it
some
is.
others, who do different things in our community to help out, which, like you said, in Peoria, we still do have some, but I just would like to bring out that voice a little louder.
Yeah, yep. And we need a few more leaders to step up and take charge of that.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. And because we know that our kids are our future. And so when we're talking about nowadays, the new adults now are the 90s kids. and we have to be ready for everything that comes with that. Being an older woman, if I see a young girl and she may be not doing what she's supposed to do or doing something wrong, I mean, in today's world, people are afraid to correct them because they're afraid of retaliation. They're afraid to say anything, Sheriff.
True. Yeah. And if you're not a mentor to somebody, find somebody to be a mentor.
That's right.
Everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs somebody.
They need male and female.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much again. And you are listening to 89.9 FM, Mothers War on Violence. Thank you.